Now we've got Gopi Ramamoorthy joining us. Welcome, Gopi. Would you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Good morning, good evening, everyone. And thank you, Diana. And so I'm Gopi Ramamoorthy, and I've been in the cyber security industry for more than 15 years. And I work for financial institutions as well as the healthcare and life sciences. I work for 𝗙𝗺𝗶𝘁𝗺, managing one of the business units for the cybersecurity. And I also manage two other business units in 𝗙𝗺𝗺 down the line. And we were moving $350 billion within those three business units. I manage cybersecurity. In the life sciences, I worked for Veeva, and then we did multiple products globally, cyber secure as well as compliance.
Okay.
So I've been active as the multiple organization as well. Back to you, Diana.
Oh, thank you. Also joining us right now is Rohit Parchuri. Rohit, welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Diana. Hey, Gopi, nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well.
Yeah, my name is Rohit Parchuri. I'm a CISO and Senior Vice President for Cybersecurity at a company called 𝗕𝗂𝗄. I'm primarily responsible for all things cybersecurity, audits, certifications, regulatory compliance. There's an element of privacy that also falls into that, but I pretty much partner with our general counsel on some of the major initiatives there. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Oh, great. Thanks you both for joining us. So Gopi, we've been talking about the state of cyber, the impacts globally. What's on your radar for this year?
Great question. So the leaders before me touched upon various very, very important key points. I would like to focus on three things. Number one, what is present? What is the what is the one that is continuous disruption to cybersecurity? The topic here is ransomware. So the hardware manufacturers are building the endpoints, and then software providers building the applications. And there should be a connection between those two. And we have been trying to secure endpoints from this application side as a piecemeal solution, right? There are application security, there's a endpoint security, but still we are getting multiple attacks through ransomware. So we need to think through how we connect our software development and think through how our hardwares are designed, like POS systems, our laptops, our connected devices, how we can minimize the data to the endpoint, how we can avoid the disruption at the endpoint. Ransomware going to continue, but how we can application providers as well as hardware manufacturers can reduce the data footprint, the longevity of the data, the removable of endpoints, adding new endpoints, how we can re-engineer the complete endpoint spectrum. We need to start thinking through. I think that's going to start in 2023, and then slowly we should have better alignment between software manufacturers and hardware manufacturers to provide better resiliency through the endpoint destruction.
Okay.
The second topic, go ahead.
No, just heavy focus on endpoint, yeah.
Right. The second point I'd like to see what's coming up in 2023 and beyond is the continuous privacy regulations and data localization requirements. So more and more privacy regulations are coming, and the governments across the globe, they want data localization to be in place for national security, for business security, and so on. So what it means is we have to think through how we build our data storage systems across the globe, and how our applications can access certain data and cannot access certain data. When it has to transfer a data from a country to another country or a region to another region, there should be approval, the technical approval process in place, as well as the monitoring should be in place. This is not only to meet regulations, also to bring visibility, also to bring better security, right? So it's if you think through service mesh made a connection between one application to another application, one endpoint to another endpoint. It brought some visibility. So we need to think through the same thing, how we can comprehensively handle the data localization and data privacy regulations through application, not only through process, not only through education, not only through legal, not only for GDPR, but we have to engineer our applications to have these regulations as well as the security met. That's the second point. That's going to start in 2023 and go beyond. So there have been the PETs, the privacy enhancement technologies, but it's going to take a new shape from 2023 and go on. The third piece I like to bring today is the data-centric zero trust. So 𝗕𝗿𝗃𝗃 coined zero trust 10 or 11 years back, but the whole concept of zero trust was down the line, it was misunderstood. It was in the sense it's taken as a application security, host security, endpoint security, access control. But if you hear again and again from the leaders, from 𝗕𝗿𝗃𝗃, it's about data-centric security. So if we need to implement a zero trust, I would always look at the data first, start building the layer, and then connecting that layer to all other domains of the security. So that's a grand vision of zero trust, and it starts with a data-centric security.
Thank you. Wonderful comments and really great points on the zero trust. It can be a confusing term, but it's about data-centric security and managed trust. Thank you, Gopi.
Thank you.
Rohit, what's on your radar?
Yeah, let me take this is great, and thanks, Gopi, for all the insights. Let me take a completely diametrical opposite viewpoint in terms of the topic I want to discuss about. It's about the cyber staffing and the cyber workforce in general. I'm sure most of the leaders, attending now and who are in this space have been struggling with the trials and tribulations that we had to face in terms of just the general cyber staffing, both within the company and also how we're trying to retain talent and also hire for new talent. And I've been going through this myself for the past 2 years as we're trying to build up the team and also build up the program alongside. One thing we hear quite often is the demand and supply. So there is a lot of demand for cyber roles, and just given how exponentially fast we've grown as an industry, and it's also said that supply is not meeting the demand. Where I think it's true to some extent, but not entirely. I think we're also looking at this from a different perspective. And for me, what I've seen and what I've experienced is that demand exists for sure, and supply exists too. It's just that maybe we're not looking at it the right way, or maybe we're not looking at it in the right place. What I mean by that is I think fundamentally we're kind of misaligning the demand and supply for cybersecurity. And the reason is cybersecurity is still a very recent happening. Like, we've only been around for maybe like a decade and a half or something like that. So I think what we do more often than not is replicate the other departments in terms of how we want to hire people, engineers, analysts, intelligence analysts, or just the typical, the directors and managers and whatnot. Like, you kind of build a ladder, you kind of build a program around it. But I feel maybe the way cyber itself is architected is different. It's not like a typical software engineering team or a typical IT engineering team. We're differently placed, we're differently viewed in a company. So I think we should look at it from that perspective. And we also kind of conflate many things into a single role. As I was going through listings myself, we ask for an entry-level engineer, but we ask too much of an entry-level engineer, which is not right. Sometimes I also see, like, if somebody's trying to break into security, I think we should be asking the right questions. We should be setting the right expectations, and I don't see that often. I'm just trying to be, very open and honest here. This is what I do see in the industry, and I'm not saying everybody does this. I'm not trying to stereotype, but I do see there's a pretty big element that of what exactly our expectations of an entry-level engineer should be. So definitely trimming that down, make it more specific, and make it prescriptive as possible, because we describe the roles, but we don't prescribe it. And I think prescriptive, in other words, mean that these are the specific technical or non-technical or business expectations for that matter. And this is where we expect you to come in and, take the baton and get moving. So I think those are a few things, but also I would like to touch on a few elements on how, I've kind of built my own program, and this has worked out for me. So hopefully this would also help other leaders, think about this from this viewpoint. Essentially, we are risk advisors, and we are reporting on risk, we're advising on risk, and also I think we're prioritizing risk to some extent. So although we talk about there's a cybersecurity, yes, I'm not discounting that there's a technical cybersecurity element, and I think we should still hire for those, like pen testers or super technical, engineers, where we still need some element of technicality within their roles, but there's also a side which is often not, we don't put too much attention on that, which is a risk element. So I think looking for ways to leverage the risk element, and making sure that you do have a component or a discipline that goes more into risk and rather not just into technical cybersecurity, I think that would definitely fare better, and it's going to be beneficial in the long term. And also reevaluate your cyber roles. Talk to your managers or directors, depending on where you sit, and ask them, or ask yourself also, to think about how do you want to, specifically talk about the goals for your company and for your cyber program. Then take that risk element, and that's how you translate that into a role, rather than simply going about engineers and analysts. I think you need a senior leader for sure. Like this would be mostly applicable to startups, or at least companies that do not have a well-established cyber program. Is try to make sure you have an executive alignment. In other words, like a CISO or a senior leader who can talk cybersecurity in a business perspective, in a business language, with your board, with your operating and executive team. So that's where you're building the narrative. And then you bring it down and make sure you build the bridges and sustain the relationships with your peer parties. And this could mean your engineering departments, your IT departments, things of that nature. And then I think one of the key points that I've kind of learned this the hard way, but I think this would be beneficial, is work on the process efficiencies and models for execution in a right perspective, because that's going to reduce the human count. And this could actually help you fare better, because you have repeatable processes that could easily be handled by the systems and process. So you essentially have a process automation. Ultimately, one additional point would be look for extensions and look for leverage anything that you could extend your team. Any place you can extend your team. This could be like, I know there's a big focus on MDRs and MSSPs and cyber insurers. I think there's a benefit to that, and which is where I think you can think about the marginal value that you would get, from your team members, rather, translate that into the external focus and make sure your MDRs and MSSPs are actually doing that for you, and you focus on the maximum value, which is, bring that, translate that, and put that into business. So yeah, I spoke about quite a few things, but let me stop there.
Well, it's fabulous. This is incredible. From all the way from data-centric focus, Gopi Ramamoorthy, thank you so much, to optimizing your teams so you can optimize your technology and security. Thank you, Rohit Parchuri. We're so grateful that both of you could join us today, and we thank you so much for being here.
Of course, glad to be
Thank
here.
you.
Okay, thank you.